Let's talk about Nimona, Netflix's latest animated feature based on ND Stevenson's science fantasy graphic novel. I'm going to share my thoughts on the film, discussing key plot details, so there will be spoilers ahead. And please check the links to our upcoming project, The Horror Exchange. Up front, I haven't read the graphic novel, so my thoughts are purely based on this film in particular, and overall I think that this was a pleasantly fun watch. The premise surrounds a girl named Nimona, a shapeshifter in a world where she is perceived as a monster, a world also in which monsters are despised and hunted. She befriends Ballister, a warrior who upon his knighting ends up being framed for the murder of the Queen. Nimona and Ballister team up to try and prove Ballister's innocence, while they learn more about each other and what it really means to be a monster. As far as setups go, it's a nice straightforward one, nothing overly complicated, and I think that works here. It's a zippy adventure movie which contains a lot of cool action sequences, character relations ping-ponging between friends and foes, and a central theme of not only understanding yourself, but understanding others. There's a whole big idea of perspective in the film, as people always have more to them than what you see on the surface level. Ballister is seen as a murderer and hated by the realm, though we know he's innocent. Nimona is seen as a monster, though we discover she's misunderstood. The director winds up being responsible for the Queen's murder, despite previously not seeming like she was a guilty threat. This was my main takeaway from Nimona, that on both widespread public gossip levels and on media involvement levels, the way someone's persona can be moulded from its true form is scarily easy, and it takes some real effort to learn of the accuracy of those claims. Take Ballister, for example. It takes him quite a while to get to grips with what kind of person Nimona is. She's feisty, very punk rock, loves a bit of anarchy to keep her enjoyment levels up, and this makes her come across as a troublemaker, a cause for chaos rather than harmony. Yet, over time, Ballister puts in the effort to see Nimona in different lights, and is able to reevaluate her several times. But if Ballister never tried to interpret Nimona in a different way, he'd always have been stuck believing she was just that problematic troublemaker. The same works in reverse too, as Nimona first aligns with Ballister, believing him to be a cold-blooded murderer. Her attraction to him was based on his public image of a chaotic killer. Over time, she learns of his innocence, his caring side. The two of them have very similar core values, but very dissimilar external presentations. I think this made for a compelling partnership. They were very well written, and the vocal chemistry between Grace-Moretz and Riz Ahmed won me over. Of course, there are other messages here than identity. There's also some tones of controlling the masses. Here, it's the director who is the real big bad, and the true killer of the Queen. So it's the one at the top of the totem pole stirring mayhem in order to maintain control. The people of the realm are brainwashed and secluded. They're taught to loathe monsters, and the city has a huge wall built around it to prevent people from escaping to the advertised dangers of the outside. There's a corrupt system in place which grasps the moral compasses of its people, much to the chagrin of people like Nimona, who become lonely outcasts, not being able to express their true selves for fear of exile or execution by those in control. When relating this back to the identity factor, there are definite undertones here of things which have risen to the surface in recent years, those being sexual and gender identities. The creator of Nimona, ND Stevenson, identifies as non-binary and transmasculine. We learn that Ballister, along with fellow knight Ambrosius, are a gay couple, and RuPaul is amongst the voice cast. I can absolutely see this as a parable of sorts for the modern experience of being able to find one's identity in a plethora of ways, and how there are still many categories of people who are viewed in a negative light through public perception and media presentation. In a sense, they are often viewed as monsters in the real world, and become lonely, misunderstood outcasts just like Nimona. Nimona herself even becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy due to being seen seen as a monster by Ballister and then remembering her backstory, she becomes that monster. If you've got all these people pointing fingers labeling you, sometimes the label sticks. But by putting in the effort to understand, it's possible to learn and appreciate this modern evolution of humanity. No doubt there will be people who label Nimona as a woke movie. There's probably comments down in this video now. If anything though, that would just play into exactly what Nimona is trying to say. And what's so touching about Nimona is that it doesn't forcefully push those messages. You could interpret the film as being about any kind of misunderstanding. Identity and perception aren't limited to who you're attracted to or who you think you are. I think a lot of people will be able to take something from the film. You could even take it as people who have become the subject of rumours, or who have been bullied or taken advantage of, or if the truth about something has been bent out of proportion and it's almost impossible to correct it. You can certainly peel back the layers of Nimona to unveil more and more messages about the world we live in today, but they're like bonus DLC bits of understanding you can take with you if you seek them out and choose to grab them. On its most basic level, Nimona is still, at the very least, a really vibrant, exhilarating, refreshing adventure movie. I love the setting here. It's a blend between a medieval world and a futuristic one. It looks and feels like a fairy tale kingdom, but with technological advances, putting the blade in Blade Runner. It was an awesome place to spend an hour and a half, especially with the animation style. It just pops, super colourful, and it's got an almost Zelda Breath of the Wild feel about it. The pacing was solid here too. It took its moments to breathe and inject character, and even the action set pieces included some nice character moments. It came together splendidly, and I'd be really happy to see a sequel. ... However, I equally feel like the ending to this film would have resonated so much better had Nimona not returned. Nimona sacrifices herself to take out the director, but takes an enormous energy blast in the process. The moments where the remnants of her energy fall and fade away like embers was stunningly gorgeous. Mark my words, this one will be nominated for Best Animated Feature at the next Oscars. In the aftermath of this, Ballister goes into a lovely touching speech about how not everyone gets a happily ever after. I thought this was so bloody poignant because it felt real. Nimona staying dead would have stuck with me for a long time. How Ballister and Nimona couldn't have that happy ending together. But that's okay, because the world doesn't work like that for everybody. There are upsets and there are disappointments. Human beings love poetic, meaningful moments in life, where things come full circle and tie together beautifully. But that's rarely the case, and I thought Nimona's ending would have been stronger, leaving us on that somber yet touching note. Would have been very melancholic. But nope, the hero has to return right at the end in case they ever want a sequel to happen. So despite my hope for a sequel, I also think that having that ending would have left a longer lasting impression. It's a catch-22. Overall though, I still had a hell of a good time with this one. It was memorable, fluid, had strong character development, and some optional thought-provoking messages lingering within about the world we live in today, as well as some messages everyone can relate to. It's one of the best animated offerings from Netflix for quite some time, and I sincerely hope that this one gets some good attention on the platform. These are just my thoughts about 2023's Nimona. What did you think? Would you like to see a sequel? Which was your favourite of Nimona's transformations? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. While you're there, don't forget to check out the Horror Exchange. I'm Connor from Unleash the Ghouls, and I'll see you next time for another honest review. Cheers out.